So we're going to talk about process strategy. Okay, and let me just introduce a little bit about process strategy, and then after that I will bring you to a few videos which I think is relevant, so that you can see, you know, the relationship between what we call products that you produce and the process that you decide. So assuming we have a product, then what kind of process should we develop? Okay. So the book gives the example of Harley Davidson. Okay, Harley Davidson is, okay, who knows what Harley Davidson is? Anyone? I will ask Yuma. Okay, you know Harley Davidson?
Maybe, I guess it's motorbike.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, motorbike. Okay, so it's an American brand. So it's a famous big motorbike. Okay. So in order to make the motorbike, they must have processes. So the product is motorbike. So the process is which process? So that's when we say we have, in general, 4 strategies. Okay, 4 different process strategies. Okay, which we'll introduce to you later on. And of course, related to the process, then you have to think about the equipment. What equipment to use? Simpler process, simpler product, of course, simpler equipment. The more complex the product is, for example, making aeroplanes, then the equipment is different. Making ships, or making cars, or making shirts. You know, I have a video on garment. After this, we'll see that garment means like making clothing. Okay, clothing. Then you need to think about process analysis and design. So this all relates to process design, process strategies. Special consideration for service process design. Service, there is a special, it is simpler. Okay, Telogen in services is, it's simpler. It's very straightforward. Okay, but of course, not to say when you say simpler, it doesn't mean it is immediately available to be done. No, it's relatively simpler. Okay. Then related to the equipment, there is production technology. For example, things like computer numerical control, machining process, and also technology in services. We've seen some technology in services before also, right? And there's a topic on process redesign at the end. So hopefully, by the end of this chapter, you'll be able to understand. You look at any companies, especially manufacturing companies or production, you can see 4 basic process. There is this crossover point computation, okay, for different processes. This is just a tool for us to do a little bit of analysis, okay, to decide which process strategies to use. This is a simple what we call analysis. What are the other things that you use tools for process analysis? You can describe customer interaction in service processes. Because in service processes, the most important thing is to make sure the time that you engage with customer is very effective and very efficient. Okay, and we can also look at the recent advances in production technology. Of course, production technology is moving so fast, very, very fast today. Okay, but we'll just be aware of it. I'm not making you, and I always say every lecture, I don't want you to. I'm not trying to make you an expert in, in production engineering or technology. You must know that this thing exists, so that you can find where you can be able to look for it when the time comes, when there is a need for you to know, for example, CNC, computer numerical control. At least you have heard from me before. At least I have, explained to you. Okay, Harley Davidson. It is producing motorcycles. It is one of the major US motorcycle company. And it uses the so-called repetitive. So the first strategy is so-called repetitive. Okay, repetitive means repeating. Okay, it's like making cars. Making cars is actually repetitive. So in repetitive, you have to make sure that quality is everywhere. The parts, when you assemble it, okay, and it works using lean manufacturing. So it emphasizes quality and lean manufacturing. Materials are sent on the production line as needed. So you send the different components, for example, the exhaust or the handle, according to different stages at the right time. Okay. And there are many variations possible, because there are, for example, in car manufacturing, there is a different models. So when you say variation mean models, okay, this class, this arrangement, and so on. And in repetitive, it is a tightly scheduled repetitive production line. Very tightly scheduled. There is takt time. There is a cycle time for you to complete one cycle. Okay. Right. So basically, in a repetitive, or in Harley Davidson. So this is the process flow diagram. So you don't have to worry about this, all these engineering jargons, not jargons, words, but you have an idea. Okay, frame tube bending. Then it will go to frame. Frame in the frame of the bicycle, motorcycle. So frame building work cells, and then go to machining. Okay, this is painting, hot painting. So this goes here. So you see, follow the flow, follow the arrow. So this is another incoming part. So it will go to the assembly line. This is called the assembly line. Okay, this is the main factory. All these are probably doing outside. Okay. There was a question last week, right? When you source out your product, what is it called? When you source out your components and you don't make it yourself, what is it called? What is the concept? All of you answer correctly. Outsourcing. Outsourcing, right? Outsourcing. Outsourcing. This is outsource. Outsource. I mean, but in car manufacturing, they don't make the tires. Tires are produced by someone else. They will send to the factory and the tires fit onto the car, right? Okay, same as here. So the engines is produced out somewhere and it arrives on a JIT schedule. And from a cell in Milwaukee, okay, there's a factory, and it will go into the main assembly. So this is where the main assembly is. So they will install the oil tank, they will install the shocks and the handle, the fender, this flow. Then they will fix the wheel, the fuel tank, fluids and muffler, air cleaners. Then they go for testing. Remember, I showed you a video on testing cars. Same thing in motorcycle. They have the final testing, 28 tests. So they go through this test, roller testing, okay, dynamic roller. That means the motorcycle is stay there, but there's a roller, so it will simulate the speed, and you actually complete the motorcycle. So this is the process flow. It is repetitive. So you make one motorcycle, and it will be created, put in a box, and shipped out. Okay, so this is the process flow diagram of the manufacturing of motorcycle, right? So you think about this. This is the product. So as operations manager, as a manager, what is your role? So the operation manager role is to create a process to produce products that meets customer requirement within the cost and other managerial constraints. For example, this is only, we have only this amount of money to buy the machine. So what kind of machine should you buy? Okay, what kind of level of automation? Okay, so this is very important that you fit your product and your service with your process strategy. Okay, right. So the questions to be answered when you think about process strategy is how to produce a product or provide the service. That means what kind of processes that we should strategize, that we should use, basically. Of course, it will meet this goal, okay, to meet or exceed customer requirements, of course, cost and managerial goals. And once you have already decided the process, for example, if you decide that it is repetitive, it is, you can only do it once. It has a long-term effect, basically. Okay, long-term effect in terms of efficiency and production flexibility, as well as cost and quality. Right? So it is a long-term, investment. You cannot simply change the equipment or the production line by, every day you cannot do that. Okay, this is, of course, it is, it's very expensive, basically. Okay, so I'm going to show you the four strategies. I've already shown you repetitive earlier. Okay, repetitive means, like auto car, automotive manufacturing, motorcycle, or even home appliances. Home appliances like television, washing machines. Okay, so those are actually repetitive process. So if you look at the top, this is the volume, the top scale here. When the volume is not very, very high, I mean too many, okay, not low, then you can use repetitive. But if your process is, your product or your service has low volume, then you should be thinking about so-called process focus. Okay, all these are process strategies, but this is particularly called process focus. Previously, it was called job shop now, basically. If you Google job shop, so it's the same thing, and job shops, printing shops. They have high variety. So this is variety. This is variety. This is low variety. That means you only make one thing or two things. Okay. So high variety, one or few units per run, high variety. For example, if you go to a machine shop or you go to tailor making dresses, okay, tailor shop. So you will make your shop, the shop will make your shirt based on your sizes. That is process focus. Okay, printing shop, hospitals, those are process focus. But as you have more modules, more attributes, lesser modules, okay, and you change in attributes, that means you have only very few variety. Okay, I'll just show this. Okay, I'll just show this. So there is so-called product focus. So when you only produce, for example, only glass products, bottle, or even Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is product focus. It only makes a very few variety, but a lot, a lot. So that's product focus. Okay, commercial baked goods, or bakery, or beer, or potato chips, right? So this is the three: process focus, repetitive strategy, product focus. Okay, and the other one is actually mass customization. Okay, mass customization is high variety, high volume. Okay, high variety, high volume. So that's just the four strategies. Of course, each of them has their own advantages and disadvantages. Okay. Right. It depends. Okay, it depends on the product that you produce. So there is four basic strategies: process focus, repetitive focus, product focus, mass customization. Of course, some companies will have a mixture. For example, car manufacturing, in the stamping shop, it is actually process focused stamping. Okay, they make the press parts. But in the assembly, it is actually repetitive. Okay, repetitive focus. And a little bit of mass customization. So in the process focus, facilities are organized around specific activities. They have general purpose equipment. For example, you go to a job shop, or a tailor, tailor making shirts. This is the sewing machine. This is the cutting process. So they have general purpose equipment and skilled personnel. Okay. And a high degree of product flexibility. There's so many, different kind of products. So scheduling is actually very difficult in process focus. Scheduling is very difficult. And typically high cost and low equipment utilization because the equipment are not fully utilized. If you go to a maintenance shop, you repair your car. That is process focus. Okay. So this is where they do the oil changing. This is where they do the wheel alignment. Okay. So for car maintenance or repair shop, it's actually process focus. Right. So this is the characteristic of process focus. So the product flow may vary considerably, making planning and scheduling a challenge. So hospitals is also a process focus. Hospital. If you go to a hospital, anyone who goes to hospital have different kind of sickness. Correct. Okay. So you have people, okay, this is a surgery. Not everyone will have to go for surgery. Correct. For example, now COVID patients, many levels. Have you seen video of people, in ICU in COVID? Have you seen? In the intensive care unit? No. In Malaysia, because the situation is very bad, so every day someone will post and share videos about, in ICU, intensive care unit, they put in intubate. Intubate, they put in a tube, so for you to breathe. So for COVID patients, there are level 1, level 2, level 3. Some are just mild, so they go through different process. Okay, same in any kind of hospital. It is actually a process focus. Some need to go to the X-ray. Some don't. Some have to do blood tests. Okay, so this is a very good example of process focus. Okay, and other things like making clothing. Okay, I have a video on that. I will show this after this. Okay, in terms of repetitive process. So repetitive process. So facilities are organized as assembly lines. So the key to remember is assembly line, and they are characterized by modules with parts. That means there are component assembly which come into module. For example, brake assembly. For example, the fuel tank assembly, and then they just fix it onto the main the frame of the product. Okay, and of course the modules can be combined for many output options, meaning different what do you call models, using different modules of the so-called assembled products and components. So it is less flexible because it's already fixed, because you have an assembly line. It's fixed. So it is less flexible than process-focused facilities. But of course, it is much more efficient and much easier to schedule. Schedule means you can actually schedule your production run and your daily production output according to your plans. Okay. So the Harley Davidson is, the repetitive process. So there's multiple engine modules, different sizes. Okay, and of course, different specifications basically. Okay, different specifications. Then it will actually, there's only a few variation or few modules. Then the modules combine for many output options. Okay, so this is repetitive process. And then your product focus. Okay, I think you need to see the video, then you can visualize what I'm trying to say. Okay, so product focus facilities are organized by product, and each product, has a very high volume. You make thousands. Okay, for example, cooking oil, for example, food products, low variety but high volume. Okay, and they have a very long continuous production run because you need to actually stock up, all the bottles, for example. Okay, so long continuous production run enable efficient processes, but very high fixed costs, very high initial, investment on the, especially automation. Okay, there's a lot of automation and low variable costs. Okay, because you don't use a lot of labor. There's no labor. It's a lot of fixed machinery. So generally less skilled labor. Okay. So an example is this. This is a very famous company in US, Frito-Lay. Have you heard of it? Frito-Lay produce potato chips. So the input is very few. You have corn, potato, water, okay, very few. But they can produce, this potato chip 3 ounce, 5 ounce, 24 ounce. Okay, but it's the same thing. Okay, or like bread. They produce this. What we call small size and big size. Okay, so this is product focus. Product focus. And finally, mass customization. Okay, I think I'll just stop here for a while, and I think repetitive also for Toyota is the same thing. But I'm just showing you the motorcycle so that you know. Can you hear? This is repetitive production line. The engine assembly. Testing. This is the roller tester.
our sample room and explain how production works. So here we have sample cutters, and this is where we basically make our samples. So once the product development is approved, we go into production. What this means is we take the approved patterns, we go into marking and grading, and we get the yield. Once we get the yield, we would order the fabric, order the trim, so we know exactly how much fabric is needed. And once the fabric arrives, we would make a pre-production sample. Once cutting is done, it would go into send-outs, which means embroidery, screen printing, heat transfer, or anything else that needs to be done. And then it will go into sewing to our sewing team, and that is where majority of the magic happens. So this is our sample room where a couple of pieces or one piece is made. We'll make our fit samples, we make our development samples based on the fabric that's sourced from the project managers, as well as the trims. And now let's take a look at what production at scale looks like. We manufacture production locally utilizing our network of dye houses, printers, and other partners. We have a full-time staff of production managers, quality control, procurement, and oversight. This allows us to do units from 300 up to over 200K of a single style. In this way, we can help our brand scale quickly, and if we ever get a huge order, we're on top of it already, and we're able to take on large quantity without sacrificing quality. So what you're seeing here is a neck tape machine. What it is a piece of fabric that is on a strip, and it goes into the machine where it goes into generally the back neck of the garment. It covers the label a lot of times, depending on where you want your label to be. And as you can see, this is a very efficient way to do it. And it's on an assembly line so that it's piece by piece and it's still connected. And once that is all completed, it would get trimmed and separated into different pieces. In terms of labeling, generally speaking, the label is centered in the center back neck area. So as you see the operator here, it has folded the neckline in half to make sure that the label is centered correctly and that she is putting a tack under the end fold label on one end, and then she is putting it on the other side on the end fold label underneath the fold. This is the final product of assembled garments from an assembly line, and they are separated by size, even though they may not look like it, but they are in fact very organized, and they do come out generally at the same time in an assembly line production. These are garments for our clients that have multiple styles and large quantities, and they are stacked together and inspected piece by piece before they're packaged and shipped out.
So any impression about the processes that I've shown to you? And first is what? The repetitive. And then the second one was the process based, okay? Right? So you can have an idea, right? So the second is much more skillful needed than the first one, okay? And you need to, of course, in terms of investment, the repetitive is a very high investment because you need to have the same equipment, right, in different stations. This is product focus. Okay, product focus. Okay, let's go faster. Oh, never mind, it's 3 minutes. So you see, huge. Just making one thing only, just making water. Okay, so a lot of bottles. This is product focus. Maybe some kind of, a special kind of water you can explain to me afterwards. Okay, and that's, there is some explanation by there's product focus, making, water, okay, water, but this is probably wastewater, is it? Anyway, you can see of course, the technology involved is actually very, very advanced. Okay, it's not very simple technology as well. Okay, so the last one, which is actually mass customization. Okay, this is mass customization from Dell. Okay, if you know Dell produces computers.
Thanks for calling Dell. What can we build for you?
Well, my family needs a new computer.
Great, let's get started. What do you think you'll be using it for the most?
My kids are really into games, and I do a little video editing, you know.
I'd set you up with the high-performance graphics card, and you might want a faster processor.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Okay, now let's talk about a monitor.
I was thinking about a 20-inch. But wait, let's step it up to the widescreen.
You got it. All right, you're all set. We'll send it right out.
Great, thanks.
At Dell, we don't build technology for just anyone. We build it for only one. You.
Any opinion?
Actually, I buy a new computer recently. It's Dell's computer.
Dell.
And
Dell.
I buy a new computer from Dell.
I see. Okay, so it's the specification depend on our requirement, right?
Yeah. Actually do.
Yeah, it used to be much more, variability, variation, but now they probably have lesser, right? Because I also I use Dell as well. Okay, so you can see now clearly the difference between these process strategies that is actually used. Okay, so let me just continue. Right. So it's mentioned just now, the mass customization is a variety. Okay, mass customization. It's depending on the customer's requirement. But of course, the cost will increase as you actually try to satisfy every unique customers. But in the dentistry industry, this is your what you call braces or whatever. Okay, so this is unique. I mean, you go to the dentist, it's very unique. It's mass customization actually. So in mass customization, it combines the flexibility of process focus, but the efficiency of product focus. I mean, it combines both process as well as product, because basically it already has production line. In fact, probably it's a bit more repetitive. Okay, when you make computers, it's repetitive, but you can actually change some of the components so that it is actually unique to different customers. Okay, and if you compare between 1970s and today, the amount of mass customization, the number of mass customized products have increased tremendously. Okay, for example, today movies, there is Netflix. Although I don't watch Netflix, but I do know there is Netflix. Pay according to your subscription-based movie. Yeah. Okay. So no more Hollywood release movies, and so people have moved on to mass customization. Okay, hundreds, thousands of different movies are produced. Software titles. We are spoiled with choices. I think. Spoiled. Too much choice. You're spoiled with choices. You can choose so many things. Okay. So item in supermarket from 14,000 to 150,000. Okay. LCD TVs from 0 to 102, probably more today, not 102, more. Okay, websites, and millions of websites. Okay, so you don't have time to even look at them or view them. Okay, so high volume, high variety Dell computer. Okay, many inputs and many output versions. Okay, many output variety. Okay, even with many parts, as compared to managing few inputs, it looks easier, right? Very simple product focus, it looks easier, just produce. But probably there are different difficulties as well. For example, having a lot of machines require you to make sure maintenance is on the tip-top, okay? Excellent maintenance system. Okay, so we have 4 different kind of process strategy. Okay, in mass customization, you have to have imaginative product design because there is mass, there's multiple customers. Okay, even today, I think clothing industry are also mass customization. Okay, there's a lot of like branded items, okay, or luxury items is mass customization. Flexible process design, tightly controlled inventory management. Why is it important? Because you're talking about having to serve different customers' requirements. So you need to actually control your inventory properly. Okay, tight control and tight schedules. Because a lot of variety require you to actually have better production control in order to actually meet your customers. And the supply chain, because partners must be very responsive. For example, Dell, because once an order comes in, they push through their electronic data interchange system, electronic system, and go to the suppliers. Supplier know what to produce and then send to the next level of manufacturers until the final assembly. Okay, so supply chain must be perfect. But of course, during this pandemic, it's very difficult. Okay, there will be shortage of electronic components and so on. So during this pandemic, I do not know how mass customization relating to supply chain, okay, can sustain. Okay, if we compare the different processors, and you can look at the for the characteristics. So you can see there are different characteristics. So if your product is, you only want to produce one item, just one, one variety, and large volume. So obviously you must pick product focus. You cannot, be having a process focus strategy. That strategy is wrong. Okay, so you must have the right strategy for the product that you produce. So if you look at the characteristics, so you compare these characteristics with your product. If it is required large quantity, small rate, okay, that's product focus. Obviously, it is less broadly skilled operators compared to process focus. It is in general very high skilled operators. But mass customization, you must have flexible operators. In repetitive, moderately trained employees, not highly skilled. For example, making t-shirts just now. It is highly skilled compared to just tightening a bolt. Okay, tightening a bolt, lesser level of skill compared to sewing, right? Sewing is eyes and hands, hand movement, hand coordination, we call it. Eye-hand coordination. So it's of higher skill. Okay. But normally sometimes lower wages, lower pay, because you do it in Vietnam, you do it in Myanmar, you make clothing in Nepal or even China, because we still enjoy low salary, right? Okay. So you can do this comparison. You can see in terms of instruction for each work in unit instructions and also work steps for process focus. But for repetitive, fewer changes in instruction, almost standardized. Okay. For product focus, more standardized. Even there is no workers, it's just no production is running. But for mass customization, it is custom orders. So it will require job instructions for different, kind of order. This customer order with this specification, this level of what you call hard disk size, RAM, and so on. Okay, so custom orders. So look at these differences. In process focus, high inventory, repetitive low, low. This is also low. Okay. Just now you see the making the t-shirt. Did you see high inventory? Did you see in the video? There's a lot of materials stacking on the side. So high inventory. But I think that factory is not actually very well organized. Okay, it can do some improvement. Kaizen got irimas that clothing factory. Okay, and the rest, okay, finished goods made to order and not stored, finished goods made to frequent forecast, frequent goods are made to forecast and stored, finished goods are built to order. Okay, scheduling is complex. Scheduling means how you actually determine how much to produce every day, okay, or every hour. So scheduling is complex because once the neck tape, then after that the arms, you want to where you're going to join it. Okay, so that's why it looks very messy. Okay, in a process focus, you look at the factory or the workplace, is very messy compared to repetitive. It's very routine. But when it comes to mass customization, scheduling is a bit more difficult, okay, because you're talking about the different orders. Okay, we got the custom orders. Custom orders mean order is different from one customer with another customer. Okay. Right. So you can see this. Another thing to look for the characteristics is the cost investment in terms of equipment and so on. So for process focus, fixed cost is low, but variable cost is high. Repetitive fixed cost is quite high, repetitive, but of course it depends on the flexibility of the facility. In general, is high. Okay. Also in product, it is also high. Product fixed cost high, variable cost low. And mass customization, fixed cost is high and variable cost is low. Okay. So this depends on the amount of flexibility that you want in the process, as well as the level of the amount of equipment that you need to invest. Okay, so that's that characteristic that you can do comparison between these four different processes or process strategy. Okay, these are process strategy. Right. Any question until now? Any questions? Okay. Let me introduce you. I think I mentioned this now. There is a so-called crossover chart, or basically it's break-even analysis. Okay, it's break-even analysis. Any one of you have come across before break-even analysis? Break-even analysis means you try to find the best solution. Okay, the best option. What is the best option? So what we are going to do is we want to evaluate three different options. It can be software, it can be process strategy, it can be anything. Okay, let's say it's a process strategy. I have repetitive. I have this option of product. I have the portion of mass customization, and I want to calculate the crossover points or the break-even point. Okay, we call it the break-even. It's easier. Break-even, when the cost break-evens between the fixed and also the what do you call volume that you need to produce. Okay, so we have three options: A, B, C. So if we use A, this is the fixed cost. This is the variable cost per unit. Okay, so this is variable cost per unit. Okay, the fixed cost is fixed. How much you produce, is going to be there. So you have B, you have C with different fixed costs and also different variable costs. Okay, right? So you have three options, and I want to know, okay, if certain volume that I produce, what are the best? Okay, it's called crossover because I want to know what is the crossover between option A and option B, between option B and option C, or even A and C. So I can know how to do that. We just equate both. Okay, this is what this is actually. So 200. So the total cost for A is actually 200,000 plus 600 times some volume, say volume 1. Okay, so or X, you can call it X. Okay, 200,000 plus 600X. So for total B, 300,000 plus 25X. So that's the total cost. Correct. So total cost is 200,000 plus 660X. Total cost for B is 300,000 plus 25X, and so on. So what I've done here, what is shown here is actually the total cost for A. If you equate with the total cost of B, you will get the break even. I mean, the point in which total cost is the same. Okay, so total cost is the same when the volume is 2,857. Okay, but below that, there is an option. Less than that volume, you should select, for example, the first option. Okay, or software A or process A. So basically, you are trying to equate and you provide the what do you call crossover volume. We call it crossover volume. So this is the crossover volume between the second option, which is 300,000, and the third option. So this is 6,366. Right? There is a graph. Okay, there is a graph. So software B is most economical between 2,857 to 6,666 because we try to solve for this B. Okay, so it's like this. Please stop me if you don't understand. Okay, please stop me if you don't understand. So this is the first line is showing the total process cost, total process A cost. That's why just now it was software. Now they changed to process. Never mind. It's A, option A. Option A. So for option A, this is the fixed cost plus variable cost. Okay. So what we did just now was trying to equate these two. So this total cost equal to this total cost, which is this line, this point. So this is total process B cost. This is total process A cost. So when you equal that, so you get 2,857. Okay. So the other equation, this second equation is actually trying to get the second point, which is equating this second line with the third line, which is the second line is B, the third line is C. So the crossover is 6,667. Okay. So that's why, you know, suddenly it changed to this is repetitive, this is low volume. Okay. This option A is low volume, option B is repetitive, option C is high volume. You know, suddenly, if you have a forecast that it's going to be a very high volume, okay, then there'll be a higher fixed cost and lower variable costs. Okay. Understand? Any questions so far? So this is point A, which is volume 1 is for the crossover between A and B, and V2 is the crossover between B and C, right? So if you look at this bottom line, this is lower cost, lower total cost than this above. So anything from zero quantity, okay, this is volume, this is quantity. Anything from 0 to 2,856, say 56, choose A. A is cheapest. Anything between 2,857 and 6,667, you're supposed to select B. So the analysis tells us that B is cheaper. If, for example, I want to produce 5,000 units, so my decision should be,
I think it's between 1 and 2. So the
which
B
process
is the cheaper one. So B is the best.
Cheaper. So if suddenly the management decide that, you know, we're going to target 5,000, we're going to produce 5,000, then we should design a repetitive process. It's not feasible for high volume or, you know, product focus, unless okay, Yuma,
Yes.
I want management say not 5,000, you know, we are going to produce 6,800 pieces of products.
We should
We should do which one?
see.
Huh? Yes, we should do process C. That means management should decide to adopt process C. Okay. Of course, this is very simple. I'm not saying that this is only the analysis, but it's a ballpark figure. Ballpark means, overall, overall analysis for us to actually understand. So you can do for many other things, for different processes, this fixed cost A, fixed cost B, fixed cost C. Okay. Right. So companies, so this is only just highlighting that if we want to actually increase efficiency, we need to have focused processes. Focus means you don't want to be producing or having a process which are so diverse. Okay, that's why companies who are successful have very depth of product line, not breadth. Breadth means, for example, if I make bottled drinks, so Pepsi Cola only makes carbonated. Carbonated means with carbon dioxide. Okay, so they put in different brand. They don't make mango juice. They don't make milk. Okay, so you lose focus. Okay, or even you make cars. You make cars. You don't have the same factory making buses. Bus is a different. Okay, so focus brings efficiency. Focus on the depth, not the breadth of different products. And of course, focus can come from the customers. For example, a lot of these companies that produce branded shoes in China, customers, for example, they make Adidas. They make only Adidas sport shoes. or they make Nike. They make Nike sports shoes, or they may be making both Nike and Adidas, but in a separate, production factory. So customers, understand? So focus can be based on customers. I mean, it's very common in the garment industry. Garment making branded shirts. Yves Saint Laurent. All these Gucci. It's customer base. Their factory is probably in China. Okay, they give the material, they give the machine, they give everything. You just do the sewing. Okay, their standard operating procedures. Or focus on products that you produce. Okay, service or technology. So focus is very important if you want to, efficiency and also cost. Okay, right. I think I'm to stop here because this is really going to be the next topic. Any questions about what I've explained to you just now? Okay, service example focus on service is, have you seen children's hospital? Hospital only for children. In Malaysia there is, in UK there is. So focus, that means this hospital is children's hospital.